what happens when the biggest stars in Hollywood suddenly fall from grace? Can fame and success survive scandal? Or is it game over? Look, if you've ever made a big mistake and thought, "Can I come back from this?" You're not alone. Even the most famous celebs have had public slip-ups, and some of them absolutely huge. It's a strange paradox in the entertainment world. One moment, you're at the top, beloved, celebrated, even idolized. The next, you're trending for all the wrong reasons. In this video, we're diving deep into the dramatic and complicated stories of Will Smith, Johnny Depp, and Alec Baldwin. We'll look at what made them household names, how their legacies were rocked by controversy, and what their journeys say about fame, forgiveness, and the ever-shifting culture of public accountability. Before all the drama unfolded, these three men were more than just famous. They were cultural icons. Will Smith wasn't just a big star, he was America's favorite leading man. He had a rare blend of charisma, relatability, and comedic timing that made him a fixture in pop culture. For decades, from his early days as the Fresh Prince, he exuded charm that was both effortless and magnetic. He had a way of making people smile, whether he was dancing goofily on a sitcom or battling aliens in Men in Black. Films like Independence Day, Bad Boys and I Am Legend made him not only a box office powerhouse but a symbol of integrity and coolness. People felt they knew Will. He was safe, he was fun, he was family-friendly, he was someone millions looked up to. Then there was Johnny Depp, the man of 1,000 faces. He made unpredictability into an art form. Depp carved out a unique space for himself in Hollywood by playing the kinds of roles no one else dared to touch. He didn't want to be just another good-looking heartthrob. He wanted to disappear into his characters, to vanish behind the makeup, the mannerisms, the madness. And that's exactly what he did, over and over again. With Tim Burton as a frequent collaborator, Depp brought to life unforgettable characters, like Edward Scissorhands, Ichabod Crane, and the Mad Hatter. But his career-defining role was undoubtedly Captain Jack Sparrow. His portrayal in Pirates of the Caribbean was revolutionary, zany, unpredictable, and strangely poetic. He turned what could have been a generic pirate flick into a global phenomenon. Audiences were captivated, and Depp became one of the most bankable stars of the 2000s. Then comes Alec Baldwin. While perhaps not as universally adored as Smith or as iconically eccentric as Depp, Baldwin had something else: gravitas. He brought a commanding presence to the screen, capable of delivering steely intensity or dry humor with equal skill. Whether he was starring in action thrillers like The Hunt for Red October, sharing the screen with Meryl Streep in romantic comedies, or playing a fictional network executive in 30 Rock, Baldwin always held his own. He had range. He could be intense, hilarious, intimidating, or surprisingly vulnerable. And of course, his portrayal of Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live became one of the most talked-about impressions of the 2010s, earning him both praise and criticism, but keeping him in the cultural conversation nonetheless. So, what happened? How did three actors, each at the top of their respective games, end up at the center of controversy? Let's begin with Will Smith. The 2022 Academy Awards should have been the culmination of a stellar career. His performance in King Richard, playing the driven and complex father of Venus and Serena Williams, was widely praised. When he won the Oscar for Best Actor, it should have been his crowning moment. But instead, the night is remembered for something else entirely. Mid-ceremony, comedian Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, a sensitive topic, given her struggles with alopecia. Moments later, Smith walked on stage and slapped Rock across the face. Live, on global television. What followed was a moment of stunned silence that felt like it stretched for an eternity. Reactions were instant and divided. Some sympathized, with Will viewing his actions as an emotional response to a cruel joke at his wife's expense. Others saw it as a shocking act of violence that violated the sanctity of the event. The Academy issued a 10-year ban, effectively exiling him from the Oscars. Smith issued a public apology and stepped away from the spotlight, canceling appearances and letting the dust settle. But the damage was done. That one moment, seconds long, undermined years of careful image building. The man who once symbolized Self-control, poise, and positivity now had an unpredictable edge. Johnny Depp's fall was longer, more public, and more complicated. His highly publicized and toxic relationship with actress Amber Heard dominated headlines for years. In 2016, Heard filed for divorce and accused Depp of domestic abuse. He denied the allegations. What followed was a storm of lawsuits, leaked recordings, tabloid exposés, and fan wars. Depp filed a defamation lawsuit against Heard over a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she described herself as a survivor of domestic abuse without naming him directly. The trial in 2022 was televised and streamed, becoming a media circus. Memes, TikToks, and hot takes flooded the internet. It wasn't just a legal battle, it was a cultural event. In court, both sides presented disturbing accounts of their volatile relationship. It was messy, raw, and deeply uncomfortable. In the end, the jury mostly sided with Depp, awarding him damages and affirming that Heard had defamed him. For many fans, it felt like vindication. His image, long battered, began to recover. Supporters rallied. He appeared at Cannes. He took on art and music projects, but in Hollywood, the wounds were still fresh. Major studios remained cautious. The legal outcome may have restored his dignity in the public eye, but the industry, ever image-conscious, remained wary. Then there's Alec Baldwin. His story is perhaps the most tragic. In 2021, while filming The Western Rust, a prop gun held by Baldwin discharged, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injuring director Joel Souza. The incident sent shockwaves through the industry. How could something like this happen on a modern movie set? Investigations ensued, safety protocols were questioned, lawsuits were filed. Baldwin, visibly shaken, gave emotional interviews. He insisted he never pulled the trigger. Still, legal. Charges were filed against him, then dropped, and then revived. The constant back and forth left both Baldwin and the public in a state of limbo. Unlike Smith or Depp, Baldwin's case involves the loss of life. It's not about image or behavior, it's about tragedy. His attempts to move forward, including completing the film Rust, have been met with mixed reactions. Some view him as a victim of a systemic failure. Others hold him accountable for what happened on set. Regardless of where you stand, the road back for Baldwin is filled with grief, lawsuits, and uncertainty. So where does that leave these three men? Hollywood loves a redemption arc, but only under the right circumstances. It's not just about talent. It's about timing, remorse, and the public's willingness to forgive. Will Smith has begun the long journey of rebuilding. He released heartfelt apologies. He took time off. He focused on his family and on introspection. Slowly, he's stepping back into the public eye, cautiously testing the waters. He still has millions of fans who want to see him succeed, but he also knows that trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. Johnny Depp has chosen a different route. Rather than chase blockbuster roles, he's embraced the fringe, art house films, music, and European cinema. He's leaned into the love from his fan base, showing up to festivals and events where he's celebrated. He's not fighting to be the Hollywood darling he once was. Instead, he's rewriting the rules of his own career, accepting that while mainstream studios may hesitate, his artistry still has value elsewhere. For years, Depp was a towering figure in the film industry. He wasn't just a box office draw, he was a chameleon, capable of transforming into eccentric, haunting, or charming characters with ease. Whether it was the tortured soul of Edward Scissorhands, the quirky madness of Jack Sparrow, or the eerie presence in Sleepy Hollow, Johnny Depp's talent was undeniable. Directors loved working with him for his unpredictability and depth, and fans admired the immersive worlds he built on screen. He was more than an actor. He was an experience. But then came the personal drama that spilled out in tabloid headlines, lawsuits, and online debates. His volatile relationship with Amber Heard and the subsequent legal battles turned his life into a spectacle. Allegations of abuse, counterclaims, audio recordings, and court testimonies turned the public's perception of him upside down. Roles that once seemed destined for him, like future Pirates of the Caribbean films or parts in major studio franchises, began to slip away. Brands distanced themselves. Executives paused or canceled projects. Even before the verdict in his favor, the damage had been done. In Hollywood, perception often outweighs facts, and Depp's reputation had become a lightning rod for controversy. But while some celebrities might have tried to re-ingratiate themselves into the studio system, Johnny did something different. He turned inward and chose to embrace the artistic corners of the entertainment world, where authenticity often matters more than image. Instead of trying to reclaim a place at the top of the blockbuster mountain, he focused on projects that spoke to him. One such project was Jean du Barry, a French-language period drama where he played King Louis XV. The film marked his return to acting after a long hiatus, and it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival to a lengthy standing ovation. That moment was more than just applause. It was a signal that, in certain circles, Johnny Depp was still welcome, still respected, and still needed. At Cannes, Depp looked content, grateful even. He didn't beg for acceptance from Hollywood or issue dramatic statements. He smiled, shook hands, took photos with fans, and kept moving forward. He wasn't there to defend his past. He was there to celebrate the present. That's been his new mode of operation ever since, focusing on creation rather than controversy. His music has also played a significant role in this reinvention. Collaborating with rock legend Jeff Beck before Beck's death, Depp toured internationally, showing audiences a different side of himself. Music, which had always been a passion, became another avenue for connection and expression. On stage, he seemed freer, less burdened by the headlines and more engaged with the raw energy of live performance. Fans who had followed him for years came out to support him, not as a movie star but as a musician, an artist, a survivor of public judgment. In interviews, Depp has remained relatively guarded, avoiding sensationalism or over-explaining. He's chosen to speak less about the scandal and more about the work. He doesn't spend his time trying to win over detractors. Instead, he lets his presence, his performances, and his persistence do the talking. There's something quietly defiant about that approach, a refusal to be defined by headlines or hashtags. Of course, that doesn't mean the road has been easy. Some critics still view him with skepticism. Certain media outlets continue to raise doubts about the trial, the testimony, or his behavior. Studios, too, have been hesitant. A return to tentpole films hasn't materialized yet, and it's unclear whether it ever will. But that doesn't seem to bother Depp. He's not seeking universal approval anymore. He's focused on those who still see his value, and he's delivering for them. His fan base has proven remarkably loyal throughout the storm. They filled courtrooms, trended hashtags, and voiced their support in countless ways. This backing has created a kind of safe space for Depp to rebuild, not in the conventional sense of clawing back lost fame, but by nurturing a more intimate, grounded version of his career. It's less about global domination and more about personal fulfillment. In this new phase, Depp is crafting a legacy that's more complex, more human. He's an artist who's faced public crucifixion, weathered brutal scrutiny, and yet continues to create. That's no small feat. While Hollywood remains an uncertain space for him, the broader creative world still opens its doors. Film festivals, European directors, indie producers, they're all watching, perhaps seeing not a fallen idol, but a proven talent who's willing to do the work. This version of Johnny Depp is no longer chasing validation from the typical power players in Hollywood. Instead, he's finding a deeper, perhaps more meaningful sense of purpose through the freedom that smaller, more personal projects provide. These aren't the loud, effects-laden studio films of his past, but thoughtful narratives where character comes first, and in these spaces, Depp's commitment to craft shines through. There's something disarming about seeing an actor of his stature shed the burden of superstardom and focus entirely on the material. It makes him more relatable, more grounded, more real. European cinema, in particular, has embraced him in a way that American studios have hesitated to. Directors in France, Italy, and other parts of the continent value mood, subtlety, and the nuances of performance. They appreciate actors who bring life experience, who've been weathered a bit by the world. Depp's presence fits that mold perfectly. He no longer represents a glossy Hollywood product. He represents something rawer, more reflective. His role in Jean du Barry wasn't about showmanship. It was about restraint, elegance, and atmosphere. And that's exactly the kind of performance European audiences respect. Indie producers, too, are taking note. They see in Depp a chance to make meaningful films that draw attention without the need for traditional marketing. His name still carries weight, still sparks interest, but it now does so in a way that feels earned, not through hype, but through perseverance. Working with Depp today means tapping into a legacy of creativity and controversy, of brilliance. And bruises, it adds texture to a project, and for some storytellers, that's invaluable. This next chapter isn't about reclaiming an old crown, it's about proving that true artists don't vanish when the spotlight dims. They just move into new corners of the stage, and sometimes that's where the most honest performances are found. It's possible that one day a major studio will take a chance on him again. Maybe he'll return to a big franchise, or helm. A breakout hit that reminds everyone why he was once one of the highest-paid actors in the world. But even if that day never comes, Johnny Depp has found a different kind of relevance. He's evolving beyond the Hollywood system, building a legacy not on perfect public perception, but on endurance, reinvention, and unshakable creative spirit. So, while he may no longer be the face of a summer blockbuster, Johnny Depp is still here, still making art, still performing, still finding ways to connect. And in a world that's quick to cancel but slow to forgive, that kind of quiet resilience might just be the most powerful comeback of all. Alec Baldwin's comeback, if there is one, will take the longest. The Rust incident is still unresolved. In many ways, legal proceedings continue, public opinion is divided, and Baldwin himself seems torn between grief, guilt, and a desire to explain his side. He's a seasoned actor with decades of experience, but this chapter of his life is unlike anything he's faced before. His ability to return to acting, at least in the capacity he once did, remains uncertain. But let's step back. What do these stories really tell us? In many ways, they reflect us more than them. We're fascinated by fame, we celebrate it, we devour it, but we're also quick to tear it down. Social media has made it easier than ever to judge, criticize, and cancel. A single moment can go viral and define a person's legacy forever. And the rules? They keep changing. Sometimes we forgive, sometimes we don't. It's inconsistent. It's emotional. It's human. Do we allow room for growth? Do we believe in second chances? And if we do, who decides who deserves one? These aren't just questions for Hollywood. They're questions for all of us. Because in the end, the stories of Will, Johnny, and Alec are about more than celebrity. They're about what it means to be human, to fail publicly, and to try, however, imperfectly, to begin again. So can these stars really bounce back? Maybe. Each is on a different path. Will Smith is rebuilding a reputation. Johnny Depp is finding refuge in alternative spaces. Alec Baldwin is navigating grief, responsibility, and ongoing legal challenges. Their stories aren't finished, and maybe that's the point. In Hollywood and in life, the end isn't always the end. Comebacks are possible, but they're never easy. They require time, vulnerability, and the courage to face the world again. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Can these stars truly return to the heights they once knew, or has the spotlight moved on? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked this deep dive, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a story. Behind the headlines. Thanks for watching. Stay kind, stay curious. And remember, behind every star is a story. Messy, beautiful, and still unfolding.